Hello, my name is Alex, and this is lesson 28 for 7th grade math. For this first part, we have to evaluate the expression, and we're given x equals 2, y equals 3, and z equals 4. So for number 1, we have x plus y plus z. So what we need to do is we could solve for this by just plugging in our known values of x equals 2, y equals 3, and z equals 4. So our answer is going to be 2 plus 3 plus 4. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 4 is 9. So our answer is just going to be 9. For number 2, we could do the same thing by just substituting in and solving. So we could substitute x equals 2, so 3 times 2, plus y equals 3, plus 2 times z, or 2 times 4. 3 times 2 is 6, plus 3, plus 2 times 4 is 8. So our answer is going to be 6 plus 3 plus 8. 6 plus 3 is 9, so 9 plus 18 is also just 17. For this next part, we have to evaluate the expression again. But for number 1, we have square root of 81. And the square root of 81, 81 is a perfect square. So what this means is that we have 9 and 9. There are two numbers that multiply, or there's a number that multiplies with itself that gives us 81. And that number is 9. So our answer is just going to be 9. Number 2, we have square root of 289. This 289, the only factors are 1 and 289, and also 17 and 17. It has no other factors besides these two. So if we look, 17 times itself is 289. So this is a perfect square. So our answer is just going to be 17. Number 3, we have 144. And if you think about it, 12 times 12 is also 144. That's part of the multiplication table. But if you didn't recall, then you could also just make a table or a tree. 2 times 72 is also 144. And 72 is also just 3 and 2, 24, I believe. And if we look at 24, 24 is also just 8 and 3. And 8 is also 4 and 2. And 4 is also just 2 and 2. So if we look, we have a pair of 2 right here, a pair of 2 right here, and a pair of 3. So this is also just going to equal 2 times 3 times 2, because we have a pair of 2, another pair of 2, and a pair of 3. And 2 times 3 is also just 6, and 6 times 2 is also just 12. So our answer is going to be 12. Okay, so for this next part, we have to solve the quadratic equations, but they tell us that we have to do it by completing the square. And completing the square is what they wrote here. Basically, if we have x squared plus bx, then we could add b over 2 squared, and that yields, or that's also equal to x plus b over 2 squared. So if you look at number 1 as an example, we have x squared plus 5x plus c. Our b here is just going to be 5. And to complete the square, it's going to be b over 2 squared. B is 5, so if you just plug in 5, it's going to be 5 over 2 squared. 5 over 2 squared is also 25 over 4. So to complete the square, or to solve the quadratic equation, we could add 25 over 4 to this. So C is going to be 25 over 4. Okay. And x squared plus 5x plus 25 over 4. This is also equal to x plus 5 over 2 squared. And if you wanted to, you could factor this thing just by hand. But a good trick, as they show here, is that you could just use b over 2 as our factor right here. And our b over 2 is 5 over 2, so that's why I wrote 5 over 2. So our answer for C is going to be 25 over 4. Okay, so for number 2, we have the same thing. We have to complete the square. We have x squared plus 8x plus c. Our b in this case is going to be 8. So b over 2 squared. B is 8, so we have 8 over 2 squared. So it's going to be 4 squared, or also just 16. So our b over 2 squared is going to equal 16. So c is equal to 16. And if we were to factor this, then this would also just be x plus 4 squared. And if you also just wanted to double check and see why this works, you can also just multiply this out. So I'll do the work on the side here. Oops. X plus 4 times itself because it's squared. So if we were to FOIL this, remember, FOIL, which is just first, outside, inside, last. So multiply the first terms, x and x, so it becomes x squared. Multiply the outside terms, 4 and 4, so it becomes 16. Multiply the inside terms, so 4 and x, so it becomes 4x. Oops, I did this wrong. By outside, we were supposed to multiply the x and the 4. So this is just plus 4x. The inside was still just 4 times x, or just 4x. And the 4 times 4 is going to be our last. So our last term, so it becomes 16. So this also equals x squared plus 8x plus 16. Just like what we're given here. Okay, for number 7, C, we do b over 2 squared. So it becomes 9 over 4. So C equals 9 over 4 because our b is just negative 3. For number 8, b is 5, so just 5 over 2 squared, so it becomes 25 over 4. So C is going to equal 25 over 4. Okay, and that's how you complete the square.